Welcome to the Home Studio Hangout podcast, where we explore what it's like building, running, and working out of a home studio with your hosts, Joshua Matotek, Andrew Simmons, and many guests in different areas of the music industry.
And welcome back to the Home Studio Hangout podcast. It's your boys, Andrew and Josh. It's a cozy day.
It's a cozy day, dude. During a heat wave, baby.
Yeah. No, if you're not watching the video, you're missing out because me and Josh have kind of sort of the same blanket wrapped around us right now.
We actually ordered these blankets specifically for this episode.
Yep. Specifically, cozy co-host episode.
It's like, I feel like Obi-Wan, dude.
It's a cozy co-host episode. Let's freaking go, dude.
Yeah.
No, just wanted to have I think me and you were both like, we've been running the gambit with interviews and stuff.
Yeah, I'm tired of talking to all you people, man.
So we're gonna
exhausting.
We're gonna have a just us episode where we're just like hang out for a bit and do one of those. And kind of catch up. So it's also kind of halfway through the year, coming up on the end of July. It's a little past halfways, but whatever. January is kind of a wash for me anyway. So yeah, let's do like a catch up. How's the past first half of 2023 going for you, Josh?
It's all right.
I'm about to say, yeah. And I know me and you have had, yeah. It kind of seems like it's the consensus of everybody. It's like it could be worse, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, there's like so many things happening.
Mm-hmm.
So many things. Like in general, like the current like financial crisis and the looming like recession, even though we might already be in a recession. And then
we just don't even know it yet.
Yeah. And then like cost of living keeps going up. The job market is messed up. But hey, man, hopefully like if everything crashes, like I'll become a homeowner.
There you go.
It'd be kind of cool.
So I'm kind of hoping that we thought about buying a house recently, because just to get really specific, we have a really good amount of equity in our house. We bought it in 2019 for like $135,000. Bought. We have a mortgage, but we got it for 135. And it immediately appraised for more than that. And that was in 2019. And the housing market has only since like gone up. So we were thinking about moving or selling this place, moving to a different place, getting a slightly larger house, or dipping into our equity and getting like a second place and turning this place into a Airbnb like rental. But bro, it's so expensive. It will cost us so much money, and we just don't have the money to do all that right now. I'm trying to diversify if I can, dude. But
yeah, that's big facts. Definitely feel that.
Yeah.
It's just a very, very weird time. And it's like, even the people I know who have like always been killing it, they're still like, yeah, it's weird right now.
Dude, even Tanner, when we were talking to him, was saying the exact same thing. Like, he was like, yeah, it's been a weird like couple months. It's been a weird first half of the year. It's not that it's been slow necessarily. It's just been like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it has been slow, but it's not been slow to the point of being detrimental to like careers or anything.
It's been very weird. Like, I think it depends on like who you work with and where.
True.
Like what area you're working in,
Sure.
Like, I know a bunch of engineers right now who are like Yeah, everything like kind of really sucks.
Yeah, I
You
feel
know?
really bad for all the engineers. I'm hearing about all that stuff in LA, and like the writer strike, like, you know, go writers, get your bag and like, get respect and all that kind of stuff. I get it. But also it's like, because the studios aren't doing anything, like all of these major motion picture studios are just like not using engineers, or these big recording studios are getting their own spaces set up, and they're paying their engineer like trash money, like $15 an hour living in LA. You know what I mean?
No, that's
some trash.
exactly it, man. Well, like that's been going on for the better part of like 2 years now.
I know, it's all just kind of hitting pinnacle at the same time.
Yeah, it's just like
It's not like you can't even pivot into engineering for movies now because of the halt in the SAG.
Oh, don't
stuff.
worry. I mean, you could still go work for A24 because they don't suck like everybody else.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Did they get cleared
Yeah.
by SAG-AFTRA? That's awesome.
Oh yeah, dude. They agreed to every single term.
That's great.
You know,
and
they make way less money than these big studios.
Yeah, they do. There's another company that I really respect called Dropout. They used to be College Humor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I send you their stuff every now and again. They're pretty funny. They do like comedy stuff, but they're in the process of getting SAG-AFTRA approved, and like I think they generally already follow the guidelines that they're asking for already. Yeah. They just pay everybody more than they ask and all that kind of stuff.
Like, it's really wild because if everybody didn't go all in, you know, then like it just wouldn't have been. I mean, that's kind of like how strikes work, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
If everybody isn't like,
dude, I was amazed that the actors like bought in so fast. Like, it was crazy.
Like, dude, at the Oppenheimer premiere, like the actors walked out.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's crazy, you know, but then you have all these directors who are like supporting it as well. The only people that aren't supporting it are, you know, the suits, and it's like,
or the actors that are small that are trying to take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, which I mean, you're kind of trash because like it's gonna come back and like bite you in the ass. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, like, you're not gonna be able to get any union work once the union comes back. Because the union's going to blacklist you.
Yeah. And it's like, you're just going to be beat. And so, you know, have fun.
There's been a lot of talk recently about like, why doesn't the music industry do exactly what SAG-AFTRA is doing? I think the problem is the music industry is so like shattered.
Well, it's that. And then it's also illegal, like for writers. Like writers, like you legally can't try to unionize because everything is set by the government. And so they have been making progress. Like writers are slowly starting to make more because of people like making this a big deal, you know, like Ross Golan. Like, he literally goes to Washington, D.C. and like gets up there and he's like this is what we need. Yeah, it's constant. And then like that one writer, I found him on TikTok because I thought he was funny, and then I found out he's actually a songwriter. He goes by Gino the Ghost. Yeah, he's always about that stuff too.
That's awesome.
And it's like that's really cool, but I think that they're like musicians have a union, you know.
Artists, yeah. I'm surprised all the artists don't do some sort of. I mean, I guess it's kind of impossible to do an artist lockout for like, because I think the talk is, I wish artists or all of like musicians or something would do a lockout in order to like attempt to raise Spotify a payout or like stream payout or whatever to everybody.
Yeah, that's also something that like the government's going to war with. So like, and also keep in mind, the only reason why we're at war with Spotify is because of how the labels flipped the type of royalties whenever streaming became a thing. You know, like you were going to make almost as much as CD sales, but then they were like, no, what if they're, what is it, mechanical royalties now?
Yeah.
I think that's what they are now. And so then,
Yeah, they're mechanicals.
and they instantly just devalued it. And they're like, haha, more money for me, you know? And it's like,
for sure.
Dude, it's just garbage.
But it's funny because I think they're also, by doing that, didn't they just kind of hemorrhage themselves because of the way that like you're seeing less and less, like the top. I wouldn't even say the top, but I would say at the top, like you're seeing a lot more independent artists go to the top.
Because what happened is it's how the master pays out differently than the publishing.
Yeah.
So that's why like the labels were like, oh yeah, we'll do that because they know that they're getting paid on the master. So they get a bigger piece of the pie now because the writers aren't taking from what they want.
No, at least that's how it was
explained to me.
I just more so mean like people are getting signed or people are taking label deals less now than they ever have.
Probably.
So,
I mean, labels are also signing people at like historical rates, but
I know,
it's also like,
but they're also bottoming out. They're also like hemorrhaging money on artists that just have one song and then never make their return.
That's always been the strat, though.
That's true.
It's like they it's like those really big like Amazon stores, right? Like instead of finding one product that sells really well, they literally just copy and paste 5 pages off of AliExpress. And you know,
the AliExpress turnaround.
Yeah, like that's literally what they're doing with artists, you know, like basically like if you are a young kid who's talented, who knows his way like around the industry, and you could get signed off of a few demos, but like there's no guarantee that anything will really happen. Yeah. You know, like to a major label, like that's true. Like I've seen it happen. Yeah. And it's like, you don't have any leverage. And so basically what they're doing is they're just hanging on to you. They're going to give you very little budget and then they're just going to hope that one of your songs pops off. Yeah. So then they can make back all their money plus some, you know, but it's really like the only time labels are like really, really making money is off of, you know, the chart topping art,
the big
artists.
ones. Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. I think it's just like a necessary evil in all honesty. Like there are lots of artists who don't necessarily know how to navigate everything. And there's very few people who have what it takes to actually be independent and do it well.
Sure.
You know?
I mean, I think of those, I do think, I mean, you even have like coming from the TikTok community, you have people like, what's his name? Nick D, who, he's fully independent and he does about 5 million monthly on Spotify, which is crazy. And a lot of his songs like kind of live in that like top 50 on Spotify charts and stuff. And he does a really good job. What's the other guy that he works with? His name, Connor Price. Yeah. White Canadian dude. I don't know if you've seen him before, but he's pretty cool. It's like short white Canadian guy, pretty good rapper. Cool. He does about 8 million monthly on Spotify, which like I think those guys are really good examples like what is possible at like the higher level. But then if you look at, I mean, if you compare them to like household names, right? Let's say Adele, right? 51 million monthly.
That's also different though, because like anybody can't be Adele.
I know, but I'm just saying if we're talking like top of independent versus top of like majors, you know?
Yeah, like the way that I look at it, if you're able to get yourself to like over 1 million monthly listeners as an independent artist, then like you've done better than most people who were signed to a label.
Oh, 100%.
And then once you get to that point, you can make the choice. You say, do I invest in my team to run this like a label? Or do I, you know, start taking meetings and figuring out who's going to
get a better percentage for yourself?
Because like, did you watch the Jelly Roll documentary?
Not yet. No, it's
Dude,
on my
it's really
on my
good.
list. HBO,
It's
right?
really good. It's a little bit of a tearjerker. I'm not gonna lie, man. But that one was sick. He was talking about how like he was trying for years, couldn't get anything to work. Kind of like went viral, and then he just like held on to it. And he had every single label like basically begging to sign him, but none of them were really on the same page. And he was like, "Look, I lived out of a van for 10 years. You know? Like I've been in and out of jail. My life is fine right now by comparison. So your offer of, you know, like a $5 million advance isn't something that I value. Like what I value is making sure that what makes me happy now is going to continually make me happy. And that's seeing how my music resonates." So he ended up signing, I think it's like one of those like licensing deals where like he still owns like his masters.
It's a distribution.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
That's the way to go, man.
It is the way to go. And so that's what he did. And he has a great team now. He doesn't have to worry about a lot of things. He gets help with a lot of things. He gets pushed the way that he should be being pushed. And like, it's all good. But the only reason why he was able to do that is because he had leverage, you know?
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, like, you got to build that leverage for sure. I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the same thing as us, right? Like if we hit up an artist and we're like, "Hey, do you want to work?" They're like, "Yeah, dude. Like, sure, I guess." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Pay me $2,500." They're gonna be like, "No," you know?
Yeah.
But you know, like when an artist hits me up and they're like, "Yo, I love your stuff," and I'm like, "All right, cool. Pay me $2,500." Then they're more likely to go, "Yeah," you know, because it's all about leverage.
Yeah, for sure. And perception.
And so like, I don't know. I think it's super, super interesting. I think it's really cool that we're in this place because previously, like, you know, up until like really the internet, like your only option for getting signed was to like get in with people, like shop a record, somehow get onto a bigger tour, and then hope that somebody signs you, or you're playing clubs. You're playing clubs, some A&R walks up to you. It's very much, you know, like not the ideal situation, you know, as far as like getting a bargain out of that deal, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it's definitely weird, but also it didn't really matter because like you could sign a garbage deal back in the day, and the chances are you're still going to make bank because like CD sales were paying so much.
True,
you know.
But nowadays it's kind of flipped more into the hands of like the everyman now, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because the like people like us can have careers. Like at a there is a middle class now. There's not just like a lower class. You're grinding it out, and then all of a sudden
artists that live in, you know, Missouri who are just like dropping music and like living in a nice house.
Matt Parker, who we had on the podcast, has like 200K monthly listeners on Spotify. Literally just lives like down the street in Greenville and just like drops music once a month and like
it's really
makes a living. His wife doesn't work.
That is an interesting concept though, because it always used to be like all or nothing. And now you have these people where it's like, hey, you don't have to tour. Like you could still make a decent amount of money. Maybe you don't have the longevity or like, you know, the security, but it's like, that's cool. Like you were never able to do that before. You get, you know, 5 to 10 years of just hanging out and dropping music and making money from it. Like you're doing way better than 99% of people who try to do music.
For sure.
One thing that makes it bad is whenever you look below that.
Yeah.
And now there's like this massive oversaturation of songs that you don't necessarily have to compete with as far as the algorithm goes. But like if you are a newer artist and you're trying to get on playlists, then you're competing with thousands of people who are just absolutely garbage.
Yeah. Well,
you know? And I hate to say it, but it almost feels like everybody shouldn't be allowed to just post on Spotify. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what Bandcamp was for.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like everybody had their
SoundCloud.
Bandcamp. Yeah. Or SoundCloud. And it's like, you should literally have to submit a song and then someone has to listen to it and go, okay, yeah, that's good enough. You know, like
Yeah.
honestly, like maybe that's a hot take, but it's just like there's just too much.
Sounding like there's a couple people on TikTok you sound like. It's very funny though, because I don't necessarily disagree. I don't necessarily disagree, and it's like it may be a little gatekeepy, sure.
It's very gatekeepy,
but
and it's
like,
a very bad take. But it's honestly like
I don't necessarily disagree with it, but like I don't know. It's hard.
I'm not saying to like drop your music anywhere, but it's like technically, if you think about it, in today's market, Spotify and Apple Music are the same thing as walking through the CD aisle at Best Buy.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like that's what our playlists are now. They're the end caps.
Yeah.
You know? And so
yeah, it's true.
I don't know. Like I was thinking about that the other day and I was like, there really should be like some kind of vetting process. Like you should at least be able to prove that like
but there's so much music now, like that would be nearly impossible.
It's absolutely impossible right now. But it was a funny thought that I had the other day where it's just like, yeah, maybe like, you know, there should be like some sort of standard that people are held to. So then they realize that like their songs suck and they sound bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree on that.
That's kind of where you start to run into issues.
Producers are for.
Like you start to run into the issues though, where like if like this is why I say it's absolutely impossible, but it's a fun thought because if that was actually a thing, you would have a bunch of people where like their whole brand is like shitty sonics and like strange songwriting. And then someone would listen to it and be like, no, it's not good enough. And it's like, well, it's art, you know?
Yeah. I think some Tyler the Creator stuff probably wouldn't have passed that.
No shot, dude. No shot.
Even though like half that stuff is amazing.
Dude, even like his newer stuff. Like,
yeah.
Like I don't know. I feel like.
But I love it.
You know what I mean? Like you would have to, the logistics of it are absolutely impossible.
Yeah, because then it's just preference. It's
like a funny thought.
It is a funny thought.
Or it's like, oh, I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to get famous. And then like some intern calls you and like, hey man, by the way,
it's trash.
It sucks. It's like actually, it's so bad. Like I would rather be Casey Anthony's kid than listen to that again.
Jeez.
You know, and then they're just like, whoa.
Jeez.
I mean, the reason why I said that particularly is because the first time I ever posted music on TikTok, some kid actually said that to me, that he would rather be Casey Anthony's kid than listen to this again. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So,
hey man, TikTok's brutal sometimes.
Dude, these kids are brutal and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I don't hate it.
It's great.
I think it's a fun time.
You really like TikTok is like the last
I don't know,
chance
man.
at having some sort of vetting process. You know
I don't know.
mean?
There's just What'd you say?
I said TikTok is our last chance at having some sort of vetting process.
I mean, kind of, yeah.
Where it's like people are like, oh, I'm gonna write this nursery rhyme song and I'm gonna post it on TikTok, and then everyone's just like L song, you know? And you're like, okay, I guess I should probably just quit. And it's like, hey, you probably should, you know?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think I agree. I think the new vetting process or whatever is like what you're saying is like the social media aspect of it all, right? It's
back
just
in
like
the day, okay, the only way that you could get exposure is if you went out and you played a show, all right? Probably starting at a club and
or a small bar.
You get on stage, you start playing, right? Johnny messes up the first guitar solo. All of a sudden, beer bottle sailing right towards your head. That was a great vetting process. You now know that Johnny has to go practice, you know?
Back then, get hit with a beer
Elastic
bottle
Audio didn't exist, you know? And it's like, I don't know. Or even worse, everybody's like, man, this sucks. Let's go to the bar across the street because like that Led Zeppelin cover band rips. And then they go over there and listen to covers instead of your awful original songs.
Yeah.
Then the bar owner never lets you book there again.
Yeah.
Ouch, dude. That stings.
Yeah, man. I don't know. that's survival of the fittest, the music industry edition.
Facts. That's just facts. And I don't know. I think we need to bring back like you
about to say some just absolute unhinged shit right now.
You weren't allowed to play. You weren't allowed to put any songs on Spotify until you play the worst bar in town. Like, I want like a crime rate map. And where the crime rate is the worst, you have to play the nearest bar.
That's amazing.
Okay, if the show goes well, then you're able to post on Spotify. If not, then like, sorry, dude. Maybe try again with a new project.
You don't cut it, bro.
Hey man, everything went really well, but that 17-minute guitar solo really just kind of cut you down a few notches. We're not going to be able to release anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that good of a solo.
It wasn't even that good of a solo. I just went on a whim.
You literally just played a blues scale up and down for 17 minutes.
Blues pentatonic for 17 minutes. And some bends that weren't even in the right key. On a totally separate note, I had this, I was scrolling through TikTok, and this interview came up. I guess it's not totally on a different note, talking about TikTok. I was scrolling through TikTok and I saw this interview come up with the guy, Kenny Beats, and I thought it was really interesting. I'd seen the interview before. It was from Other Tone. I'm gonna pull it up real quick on a Lay podcast, and I want to get your. We're gonna watch it, and then I'll get your kind of reactions on that.
Oh, dude, I always wanted to be a reaction YouTuber.
Figure out what drums people were using or what records they sampled to get those drums or whatever it was. But by the time I was that age, people were using the motif and people were using sounds from sites, and it wasn't really sampling off James Brown records anymore that I was listening to in 2004 on the radio. So for me, it's always been this thing about access to the software, access to the kits and the sounds and the files. And right now that takes about 5 minutes to get there. You can watch me on Twitch. You can watch a million other people. You could be making beats as good as your favorite song in about 3 weeks.
It's crazy.
I mean, so at the end of the day, what are you going to do different? No one wants any t-shirt with a producer's name on it. That's never been a thing in history. So merch is out. Drum kits are all over the place, and maybe you'll get in a little advance from some site to put up a drum kit and this and that, but you have to have a following for that to really go crazy, unless you have the greatest snares and hats and whatever in the game. So where are you going to go with it? Are you going to be someone who shows your process, like kids like The Count, kids like Kalen Ellis, people who just make beat videos of them making beats, and it ends up with placements and ends up with Madlib tweeting about them and all this stuff? Are you going to go a content route? Are you going to go a route where you start collaborating with a lot of people and you're the engineer and the creative designer and the producer and the musician in the room, and you have all these different jobs? So now they need you for more than one reason? Because just making beats, it's not going to get you by now when everybody's got beats. It's just not it.
It's clear that you enjoy being like.
So there you go. Josh.
That's facts. No,
Yeah.
Dude, we were just talking about that, man.
I know. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I don't think we were talking about it on podcast, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, my thoughts are very much that. Like,
Preach, Kenny.
Yeah, like we were just talking about how there's like an entire, like I keep getting ads, and they're always like, this one ad is always like, how do producers make money? Number one, placements. Number two, learn how to mix. And I'm like, that's not what producers do. Like immediately, like step two was literally just
learn a different job.
Find a different job. Like
Yeah.
that is insane. Could you imagine if you were in a different creative field? Okay. Or no. How about this? If you were in a non-creative field, all right.
Yeah.
Say you're in marketing, okay? And you were marketing for cat food, okay? And every cat food brand in the world is like super pumped to work with you, all right? And you're leveling up and you're leveling up, and then you realize all of these people only pay $50,000 a year. So you go on Google and you look up how to make more money as a cat food marketer. And they say, step one, be a cat food marketer. Step two, why don't you learn how to draw pictures of flowers? You would be like, that's absolutely insane. And like, that's literally what he just said.
Or get a job in accounting.
Yeah. Become an accountant.
Become an accountant.
Like, that's an entirely different job. Like,
yeah.
And I hate that too, because these people, they know so little that they're actually devaluing everything. Everything. Okay, if you are a good beat maker and you want to make more money, stop trying to get placements. Like, you're not going to make any money from placements. That ship has already sailed. The only people who make a ton of money from placements are the guys who are super well known. And we have like, what, one producer every like 5 years pop up, and you're like, oh yeah, that guy makes sick beats because of placements. Like, at the end of the day, like, Thug is still having Metro, you know, executive produce albums and stuff like that. It's like, if you want to be more valuable, like, you need to like start working in the room with people. You need to stop trading email lists and cold emailing, you know, hundreds of people because it makes you look like an idiot. Like, you need to start making relationships and working with people in person and showing that you could do more than just clicking in MIDI notes in FL. And it's like,
yeah.
And honestly, like, if you
something
look
else
at,
he says like later on is like, he may have said it in that as well, as like, is what you want to do, like, become the producer that's also the engineer, that's also the musician, right, in the room, so that like you're valued for more than just one position. You're valued for a larger piece of the pie then, right?
Yeah.
Like, either you either go, I like to think of it as like, there's two options that you can do. You can either be the best at one thing, and that's possible, but also really, really hard, or you get better at other things and you kind of widen your breadth of whatever you want to do, right? So whether that's, mixing is part of it, but, you know, as a producer, maybe you need to learn how to write better songs so that you can offer that as a part of your production, right? Like what you do, right? Like, or on the other side for me, it's like, you produce, but I also mix. So I can take somebody from, I'm producing and tracking the record, to finished product if I need to. Or you create content around your productions and you become like a producer content creator kind of combination, or you collab more, right? You work with other people and you start getting your name out there and like building, like you said, building relationships. You're not just getting a giant email list and just bombarding people and with beats left and right. You're collaborating with artists, you're collaborating with other producers, you're building teams around projects.
Yeah.
You know,
like, there aren't too many big producers that are like only sending out like packs anymore, you know. I mean, like, it's still a pretty common thing.
Not only,
like,
they're not only doing that.
Yeah, but it's like the whole thing in Atlanta really is like, yeah, like, you bring beats to an engineer and then you cut the songs. But it's like, if you look at like the big releases, you know, like, people are sitting there and they're working in real time for these songs, you know. Like, the last Kendrick album, that's how it was made. That's how like the Drake albums are made. And while I'm sure a lot of those songs do start with just beats, like, they end up getting changed, you know?
Yeah.
It's like all of the stuff that like Mike Dean does, like, sure, they might start from beats, but then like, he's ultimately the one who's, you know, finishing these songs and making them real songs. And he's making way more money than the beat maker, you know? And then you see like videos of people who made beats on songs like that, and they're like, yeah, I only made 30,000 from that song. That's not fair. And it's like, well, like, maybe you should have the same skill set that Mike Dean does, because like, he's making like 100,000 a song plus 5,000 a revision, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like,
plus percentage on the back end.
Yeah, plus percentage. And it's like, why aren't you striving to be that, you know? And it's really just because like software in a way has kind of killed like the artistry behind it. But then,
well, I was going to say, this kind of involves the other conversation. That's kind of why it is happy accident that we started talking about like the oversaturation and the bar lowering conversation before this, because this kind of like the bar lowering and making it more accessible does create a middle class, but it also made the lower class much more saturated in the sense of like everybody can just, like he said, it takes you 5 minutes to find all the packs that you want and 3 weeks to learn how to make a beat.
Yeah. And then even then, like if you look at engineers, right? Like all these studios are just hiring like interns from like Full Sail or whatever, which is cool. I'm sure that they won't be interns forever and they will have very successful careers.
Sure.
But ultimately, like these labels are kind of looking at it from the angle of, well, studio time is cheaper. We could get more songs done. And then once all the songs are cut, we'll just send it to someone else to fix all of the mistakes made in engineering, you know? And it's like, that's trash, you know? Like we were just talking to Denver, and obviously he doesn't operate that way. And because he doesn't operate that way, he's able to make a good living and work with really good artists that are doing cool things. And he won a Grammy off of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like my friend Ben, who honestly we should probably get on the podcast, like,
yeah,
he's currently Lotto's engineer. And the reason why he's Lotto's engineer is because he doesn't operate that way. Like,
yeah,
whenever he is engineering the track, like he wants it to sound like it's mixed. And it's getting to the point now where he'll work with somebody and then the song goes out for mix. And then they're like, but why doesn't it sound the same? You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, because he's going, you know, the extra mile on these and making sure that the song sounds sick, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, then I hear stories about, you know, people working at other studios and the engineers like printing out like super clipped vocals, or like the compression is super wonky. And it's like, you know, you get what you pay for. And obviously like everybody has to start somewhere, but like, I think there's just this really, really weird situation where it's all about getting as much done as possible for the cheapest. And so that's why like beats are so popular, because like a hip hop artist is able to do 5 songs a day for a year. And then whenever it's time to figure out what tracks are going to be on it, they just pick out, you know, 15 out of, you know, the 1,000 songs. And then they send those out to get fixed up and redone and mixed and produced and all that stuff. And it's like, that's cool. Like, I mean, I guess that's typically how it works, you know?
Yeah.
Because traditionally, like artists weren't all about quantity, you know? And that was something that I found really cool about Mac, you know, finding out that he would show up and he'd be like, all right, so I've been working on this album. Like, all right, cool. What do you have? And he's like 300 songs.
Yeah.
You know,
what was it?
Like,
what album was that for? Do you
every
remember?
Single album.
Oh, for all of them?
Every
Mac Miller album.
At least ever since his 0 out of 10 Pitchfork review.
Oh, so he was like, I'm gonna come correct with options ever since that Pitchfork review.
Which is why I was so worried about his last album, because I was like, did they just like pick, you know, a few songs out of all these hundreds that he was considering? But apparently like the album was almost done.
Yeah, I think the album is already out the door.
Yeah, dude, there are thousands of unreleased Mac songs. And that's how it is for like a lot of hip hop artists, you know.
We had that whole Juice WRLD album that was posthumous, and like I think we had who else? Who was the other one? The guy from Florida.
X.
Yeah, XXX. Yeah, we had an entire posthumous, I think 2 posthumous albums from him come out. Yeah. Like, because he just had that many done tracks.
So like it's one of those things where like it's not necessarily a bad thing that people are all about quantity, because like you have to do a lot to find the really good songs, you know?
You got to write a bunch of trash to get the good ones out.
It's kind of like how they're just like it feels like people are trying to cut corners. You know?
That's my problem with it.
And then it ends up reflecting on the final product. And it's like, come on, like we'll probably do better.
I also think it ends up not undercutting, but it ends up devaluing the position a little bit for me. It's that all of these people are like, yeah, I'm just trying to get my reps in, blah, 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 blah. And I get that. I'm about it. Like, go get your reps in, go do it. But don't position yourself like don't fake it till you make it on that right? Fake it till you make it, and just like being a chill dude and having a good personality and like, you know, being around people and meeting people. Let your work speak for itself in that regard, you know? If people are like, yo, he's a dope producer, don't say, nah, I'm just getting started, you know? But like, no, keep in your mind that, yeah, you're just getting started on a lot of this kind of stuff. And you need to like get your reps in a lot. I mean, I even feel like for me, I am still at the point of getting reps in on certain things, right? I don't feel like I'm an incredible top tier producer, but I feel like I'm good enough to make a living at it. And, you know, I do that, but I'm not going out there being like, yeah, I'm the next Mike Dean or whatever.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm all for like people doing whatever makes them happy, you know, but like the whole beat maker conversation, like really annoys me. And because it just feels like so many people are just blatantly being lied to, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you are a great beat maker, you can absolutely be a great producer. They 100%. Aren't that much different. They really aren't. You're really close.
Different. You just need to learn how to work with an artist better, basically.
Yeah, like go figure out how to work Pro Tools. Go figure out how to, you know, use a patch bay and how to set up a preamp basically and a compressor, and learn about different microphones, and you know, like go do all that stuff. Like if you were a beat maker making money off of it right now, like literally just try to get in with the studio and go engineer, and that'll like fill in the other half.
Freaking, you know? Just go
or learn an instrument if you don't play
learning
one.
An instrument is huge. But I think going to like if you're already a beat maker, attempt to have like in-person sessions with people, right? Say to whoever artist that you're working with, if you're working on like a, you know, a custom thing, be like, yo, you want to do this in the studio? Like hire an engineer and let's like do this together in the studio and like work on it together, right? Or, you know, and do it that way. See if you can get a cheap spot to do that. Or like you said, go hit up another engineer that's working at a studio. Be like, yo, can I just come like sit in? I'm just trying to learn like how to make my vocal tracking better, or friggin' just listen to like this podcast, or watch a bunch of other YouTube videos. There's a bunch of stuff out there.
Well, it's like, you know, moving to Atlanta, effort. There's like a ton of really, really good R&B here. And like, I'm really not like the best R&B kind of guy, you know? So I hit up a producer here. His name's Keys Bridges, and he's produced for like Danny Lee and Chris Brown and like all these bigger artists. And so I hit him up and I was like, hey man, I'm trying to figure out how to do what you do. So if you need anybody to like mix or edit for you, like just send me stuff. And so like I've been mixing for him and editing for him, and I do it for free just because I'm able to like pick apart his sessions and see his Pro Tools sessions and really, you know, figure out like what he's doing and try to like see what the thought process is behind all of it. Yeah. You know, and it's really cool. It's like really cool.
You need to learn a lot that way.
And yeah, it's like, I help you, you help me. Like, this is great, you know? And yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I think that whenever people set out to like become a beat maker, it's just because they only know what's around them, you know? And like, especially whenever like SoundCloud rap was like super, super big for those few years, it's like all these kids were downloading FL while they were still in high school. Yeah. And so like they started learning, and then they're looking up to like Internet Money and, you know, people like that. And then it's like, those guys are very much like beat makers, you know? And it's cool. Like, they'll make more money than I ever will. But it's like, not everybody has the capacity to do that. They literally built their own thing. They made a new sound with new artists, and it blew up. And it's like, that's the only reason why Internet Money worked, you know? Yeah. And so, yeah, like
but
what Kenny was
replicating
talking
that now
about, where
is
it's like
kind of impossible.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see it happen again, just with something else, you know.
But it's going to not be the same sound.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, you go through those waves where there's like a massive amount of influence, you know, like Dr. Luke, he kind of like took the charts by storm, and then like everybody was using the same microphone chain, you know? And it's like I don't know, it's almost like that, where it's like when something really drastic happens, a bunch of people want to compete with that. They want to try to get in on that. And so it's just kind of weird, like seeing all of these kids being like, yeah, man, I love that. I'm a producer. And it's like, okay, cool. What do you do? And they're like, well, I just make beats for 10 hours a day. And then I email 2,000 people and I hope one of them gets back to me. And it's like, bro, like go make music, go have fun, you know? And like a lot of people do, which
pull
is
up
cool,
with an
like,
artist and
that.
just like make some stuff, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's so close, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is. It's a very weird line to toe, because like I make beats, but I'm also an actual producer. You make beats and you're also an actual producer. You know what I mean?
I mean,
like
I also won't say that beat makers aren't producers.
They're not.
Like you are producing. But
I know.
until the song is done, until you have a vocal in the session, like I don't really consider
not really a
that
song, right?
like production, Yeah,
it's not really a song, right? It's just like a beat with an idea, maybe.
Yeah. But like, I mean, if you think about it, like anytime a session happens in pop music, it's not that much different than what beat makers do.
No, that's true.
And it's like, you don't even have to know a single thing about songwriting, Like if you can't write good songs, don't worry about it. Find someone who can, bring them in. Like, hey, dude, I'm working with this killer writer. Like you should come through.
That's something that he talks about later in that interview. I couldn't find it. I couldn't re-find it again. But something he says later in that interview is whenever Kenny was starting and like kind of trying to take himself seriously, he was like, well, I'm a music guy. I don't know anything about like fashion or art or what's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that stuff. I'm a music dude. I know how to make dope music. So what he did is he had friends in his circle that's like, that dude always dresses really cool. So I'm going to let him, he's like my stylist now. I'm going to have him teach me how to like dress cool and like look the part. This person over here always, I don't know, stays up on like what's happening in this other world that I'm just not in. So if I have a question about something that's going on in that world, like the movie industry or the TV and like animation industry, right? I go to talk to that guy because maybe I need to know, I have an in there or know how that world it runs, or, you kind of build a team around you that works kind of harmoniously, because then you're also their music guy. You also have that, they also have that connection to you. If they ever need anything done, you got their back and they got your back in that same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in the same way, find songwriters, find other engineers. If you're a beat maker, become like an executive producer, right? Where you're a team builder. So if they know you're always going to come to the table with awesome beats, but the right singer to put on it, the right songwriter to pair with that singer to write a dope song, a great mix engineer to send it out to get an awesome mix, to make sure that it hits. Even like start getting into the distro world and meeting people in the distro world, and making that song go even further on your own without having to rely on like the 0.01% chance that you're going to get a placement.
Yeah, I mean, I also don't think that it even necessarily has to be that deep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the people who start to dive into like the whole like artist development thing kind of bite off more than they can chew. And instead of like developing like a really good product because like the money and resources isn't there, they just kind of like, I don't want to say hurt the artist, but they really don't give the artist what they need, Sure. And I think that like this is a conversation that I've seen pop up quite a few times recently. But like, especially when talking about like, well, like my artists aren't streaming well, what do I do? And it's like, at the end of the day, like it's not your responsibility, one, how an artist gets the money to work with you. And then two, how the artist can make the song do well. The only thing that you're asked to do as a producer is to produce the song.
Yes.
And especially now whenever everyone's like, oh, you have to like diversify and add value. And it's like, it's real easy to start like looking at different things. But like what you just said, where you're like, oh yeah. And then like, you know, you become like a team builder and then like get into distro. It's like right there, you're asking a producer to learn a different job.
So I'm not saying you get into distro. I'm saying you meet people and bring somebody in on your team that knows that thing.
Right. And saying, like that's different. Totally cool. But it's also like as far as like the question at hand about like, you know, beat making being so oversaturated, it's literally as simple as figuring out what makes you unique, what people like from you, and how you can expand upon that. You know,
100%.
It's like if people really like your tracks that have like a live instrument in them, how can you improve that? Is it getting other instruments? Is it maybe upgrading your recording chain? Is it trying different techniques? Is it
getting better at that instrument?
Yeah, is it getting better at that instrument? You know, it's like these are like, I feel like in today's world, like specifically like Gen Z, like late millennial, like you come up in this culture where you feel like you have to know how to monetize yourself in multiple ways. And it's like, you don't have to do that. You know, it's literally as simple as figuring out what you're good at, figuring out who likes what you're good at, and then figuring out how to get them in the room. And it's like, that's literally it. And
being the best and trying to be the best version of that you can be. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the thing that I said before. Either you go wide, which is what I really enjoy doing, which is like learning a bunch of different shit, or you do what you're saying and you go tall in one very specific area, right? And you become the best that you could possibly be in that area and try to get in the room with the people that you want to be in the room with.
Yeah, like if you think about it, like if someone wants an Internet Money beat and they're actually going to do well, they're just going to hit up Internet Money. If they want a Metro type beat, they're just going to hit up a Metro. Same with Southside. Same with Sunny Digital. Like that's just kind of how it's always worked. And so like with type beats, like I think who he's really talking about in that whole video is the people who are doing type beats.
Yes, he's talking about the people just starting out, not really the people in like the intermediate and upper that are actually making money. Most of the time they have like a sound or like a thing that they do. Generally it was geared towards like the people starting out in his Discord, a lot of what he's aiming at.
Yeah. And dude, like I'm in his Discord and I've worked with a bunch of people in there, and there are so many people who have no clue what they're doing. And it's like every other post is like, who wants to hop on this beat for free? And then it's labeled like Weekend X Travis Scott type beat. And it's like, come on, man. Like, start making something cool. You know, it's like trap. And on top of that too, trap music hasn't really changed at all for the past like 10 years. So it's like, maybe we could like, you know, at least try to make something a little bit different,
more unique. Yeah.
You know, because all of the bigger artists are trying to do that. Like Drake dropped a house record, you know, like Thug dropped like an acoustic album. Like those things are all absolutely possible at a smaller scale. And it's also like really hard to pop off as a younger artist if you're doing music that is extremely close to like the top, you know, like how many people actually,
new, right? People want
how
something.
Many people actually blow up off of trying to make top 40 pop music?
Yeah, I don't know. Because most of the time what becomes popular in like pop music is something that was more recently looked as like alt or weird or something. I mean, Billie Eilish is a great example of that, right?
Yeah, but Billie Eilish wasn't trying to make songs like, you know, like Adele. She wasn't trying to make songs like Taylor Swift.
Literally none of her songs are, if you look at them objectively, 2 years prior to them blowing up, none of them are like radio pop like considerations, right?
No, I want to know how those conversations went.
Nonetheless, Grammy considerations, right?
Yeah, but then it's like you have all these artists now that are popping off because they're doing something unique, you know?
Don
like,
Toliver did kind of the same thing, right? Like,
yeah.
popped off because he had like a super specific sound and his beats were super wide and open and spacious and had like a cool party vibe to them, right?
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, like, I don't know. I think that there's just a massive oversaturation and that people don't understand what they should be focusing on. And that's something that everybody struggles with forever.
Sure.
You know? Like, I was just texting Khalil about that. I got him situated with this one producer I know who just got this sync gig, and he was like, yo, like, do you happen to know any really good hip hop artists who can cut a vocal by Tuesday? And I was like, I know one guy. So
yeah.
I linked him, and then, you know, we were chatting a little bit this morning because I was asking how it went, and it did go well. And
Awesome.
he was like, what have you been up to? And I was like, I'm just trying to like get back to like what I love doing, you know? And I feel like everybody like throughout their career, like they kind of have that moment where it's like, yeah, I don't know, I haven't really been liking a lot of the stuff I've been doing. I should probably like figure out what's bringing me joy right now, you know? And so, you know, I need to watch that whole interview now with Kenny because that's seems like a really
It's
cool
a really good interview. I'm gonna drop it in the description of this whole episode, both audio and video. Or if you want to look it up, it's Other Tone with Pharrell and Kenny Beats. I think it was like a year ago. About a year old.
Pharrell's so good.
Yeah, Pharrell's and he gives a lot of interesting insight in that interview as well.
Yeah, I would love to hear it because, like, I don't know, like Pharrell is like so big that like every time someone talks about working with him, it just sounds magical, you know?
I know, dude.
And it's like obviously it isn't like he's just a dude doing things, you know. But it's
talk
like,
about a dude with like hyper
really
specific.
cool.
Talk about a dude with like a very specific like set of skills, right? The ability to just like immediately make a song better in a way only Pharrell can. I think Kenny kind of does that exact same thing. I really look up to Kenny in a way of like he's so well versed in so many different styles of hip hop. He can kind of at this point he can kind of make anything when it comes to hip hop, but he's not. I don't think he's made and non hip hop. He had that one rock record get Grammy nommed. I think it was that band Idols.
Oh yeah.
He produced that whole record.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's like, and that comes from him just like liking cool, grungy rock music.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, you don't have to do a lot. You also don't have to like wear a bunch of different hats. But if you just like focus on what you're good at and what you need to improve and how people would want that, then like you're going to be fine, you know?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It's really cool that he brought that up because I keep seeing like posts about that where like, who wants to trade email contacts? And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
It's very weird.
I've never been into that world of like, hey, let's trade email contacts and just spam people with our freaking beat packs or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not my thing.
It's very, very weird.
But I think this is a good place to call it. We're getting close to the hour mark. Hey, listen, go check out
something. I'm a little hangry.
Yeah, me too, man. I got a session in like, I think like an hour, so I probably need to figure out.
Yeah, I need to make a video real quick.
Oh yeah. Josh has been making some interesting YouTube videos talking about different stuff. You made how to make, some stuff that kind of sounds like Glaive, how to make some stuff that sounds like Aries. Both of those are really cool. You're working on another one. What was the one you said?
Today's going to be pop country. I've been listening to a bunch of Tyler Hubbard, and
nice.
Man, it's so good. It's just the band Camino, but country.
Yeah, dude. Heck yeah. So yeah, go check out Josh's YouTube videos. I'll have them in the description as well. So if you want to go subscribe, and hopefully Josh will have a actual profile picture other than just other than just a J.
This is the J.
Yeah. But yeah, so go check that out. I'll also have the full interview with that Pharrell and Othertone did with Kenny Beats, and yeah, go check that out. It's a really good entire interview. And yeah, we're super excited for a lot of the other interviews that we have coming up on the podcast.
Bro, we have so many interviews booked.
So many interviews, which is great. They're all awesome. They're all so interesting.
I'm sorry. Whenever I said that, it probably sounded like I was like slightly disgusted.
No,
I was mostly just shocked that like I'm just blown away that so many people were like, yeah, man, I'll come talk to you for like almost 2 hours. And
yeah,
dude, it's nuts. Like the other day with Tanner, it was like
2.5 hours.
Yeah, we literally had to like cut it off because like it was going for way too long. Like before you know it, like we're gonna be like H3 and Rogan, just going for half a day.
Yeah, golly.
And that was just really cool. I need to exchange numbers with him because I feel like we could hang out and just talk all day. So
yeah, Tanner's super cool. Yeah, by the point that this episode's out, that episode will have dropped. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. It was super fun. I think if listeners want us to do more cool interviews, you can tag people or tag people in our stuff and be like, hey, you should be on the podcast. Or you can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. That kind of helps the show get out to more people, and it helps recommend it to other people. And also, if you're not watching this, you can watch this on YouTube, or I found out recently you can watch this on Spotify as well, because Spotify has video available to everybody.
Really? It's for everybody now.
I think so. I've been uploading video podcasts to Spotify for the last like month or two.
No way.
So a lot of our more recent episodes should be up on video on Spotify, I believe.
That is super sick. That makes me really happy.
Yeah, so you can go watch those or check them out on YouTube. It's the same video. Nothing really different there. And yeah, subscribe and give us some ratings and tell us if you like the show and kind of what you're getting out of it. Yeah. So Josh, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Of course, man.
Talking about beat makers and the industry and kind of as it sits. And listener, thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time with another interview. Later.
See ya.